but I don't think we really understand his glory. I come up in Pentecostal charismatic circles where we would talk about the glory as this tangible thing that happened during really exciting services. So you get done with a service in which people, maybe there was a lot of shouting or crying or running around the building. We had some services, falling out in carpet and whatever. And people come out and say, boy, you could really feel the glory of God moved in that place tonight. And sometimes you would see someone saved or just someone would emotionally connect with the sermon, and you would hear that statement kind of bandied about. Boy, isn't God's glory real tonight? Boy, the glory of God, we'd even hear this. The glory of God's so thick in this place, like you could cut it with a knife, the atmosphere, and kind of even mixed those terms, anointing, which we talked a little bit about last week, anointing and glory. So I think as I was preparing this lesson, what I felt the Spirit prompting in me was really to define the glory of God in biblical terms and show you what that looks like for us today. And that it might not only be, and it may not at all be, and I'll try to clarify this as we go, it may not at all be exciting stuff happening. Although exciting stuff may happen in the glory of God. But I want to be biblical. I want to see what the Word says about it. To get us there, look at John chapter 1, verse 14. And I want to show you a contrast, as John does, in the character of John the Baptist and the character of Jesus. John 1:14, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Now, if you'll recall, I didn't put this on the screen. If you've got your hard copy, you might want to glance back at this. Remember the 6th verse? There was a man sent from God whose name was John. 7th verse, he came for a witness. Okay? Man sent from God came as a witness. Look at 14 again. Word became flesh, dwelt among us, we beheld his glory. 2 different men, 2 different ministries, 2 different descriptions. Remember a couple weeks ago we said John the Baptist is sort of the moon to Jesus' sun. Kind of like us. You know, we revolve around him. He's the centerpiece. Whatever we reflect is a reflection of his glory. So if I've got anything worth saying, it's going to be because I've had an encounter with the one who has first said it to me. And so then I'm kind of like the moon, and so are you. That's really John the Baptist. But the moon always goes down, the sun comes up, and so and I like how in the book of Genesis, when God creates the heavens and the earth, if I were to tell you about creation, I would probably talk about the daytime and then the nighttime, because that's how we live. How'd your day start? Well, it started this morning. No one says my day started at night unless you're maybe working third shift, you know. But most of us, my day started today. But when you read the Bible, it says the evening and the morning were the first day. So in God's retelling, he starts with the darkness and then he proceeds to the light. Why? Because God takes us from darkness into light. He takes us from chaos into order. Or let's say it this way. We start with the moon and we move to the sun in the economy of God with John the Baptist and then Jesus. So that's the moon and then the sun. But notice, John is sent and he's a witness. Jesus became flesh and dwelt. John is a man sent with a message. Jesus comes to us first as the Logos, became flesh, and so it's as if Christ exists first and foremost as the Logos, as the Word, and then takes on a human form. I like to say it this way. There's nowhere in the Old Testament that calls him Jesus. Why? Because he's not yet Jesus. He's the Logos. He's the Word, but then when he's born in Nazareth, or he's born in Bethlehem and grows up and becomes what we know as Jesus, he takes into himself, the Word becomes flesh, and then that becomes a reality in us. Jesus is not here to say, John's here to say, Jesus is here to be. Okay? And that's the difference in Jesus and in you and I, or it's the difference rather in John the Baptist and in Jesus.